From Betrayal to Breakthrough, I'm Dr. Debbie Silber, and today's guest is Elizabeth Tripp. Elizabeth is a New York City-based lifestyle design coach and spiritual teacher. As a featured radio talk show host on TalkRadio NYC, a Thrive Global contributor, and a national public speaker, Elizabeth is recognized as a thought leader in spirituality, well-being, and prosperity. Early childhood experiences can make you or break you. Well, today I'm having a conversation with Elizabeth Tripp, who realized where negative beliefs were taking her and turned her life around. If you have some nagging old beliefs preventing you from being, doing, and having more, you're going to love this conversation. Here's Elizabeth. Okay, everybody. So we have Elizabeth Tripp with us today, and we are going to be talking about creating a lifestyle you love. Because what happens is we may have the best of intentions and go about creating this lifestyle, and we get a little bit derailed, a little bit sidetracked when we have a betrayal, when we have an experience that is just painful. But Elizabeth is here to show us the way out of it and through it. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. I'm very grateful to be here and be of service of your community. So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
So let's just start with when someone wants to create a lifestyle they love, what are some of the obstacles that may have gotten in the way that prevented them from that in the first place? Let's just start there and then see where we wind up.
Yeah, a lot of times people feel like, I had this dream when I was, maybe 10 or 15 years prior to where I am at this very moment. And I thought, oh, my life was going to look like this. And I was going to have this house and this car and these kids and this partner. And truly, I've woken up and realized I'm unhappy. I feel unfulfilled. I may even have the house or the car and the kids, but I don't feel truly like I'm connected to why I'm here and the meaning for my life. And so they've created something that they truly aren't fully in love with. And that's where they can come to me and we can look at in a more deeper sort of perspective. Well, what is it about what you've been thinking and feeling about your life that has been creating this sort of disconnect from what you desire and what you truly see in front of you? And that's how we begin the journey.
And I see this all the time because we think that things will get better when we have the house, the car, the relationship, and then we do. And then when it's not, it's like, uh-oh, what happens now? And then I also see the other side of that, where we may have those things or we don't have those things, but figuring out what's going to have us feel fulfilled seems like such a big task. So we numb, we'll use food or drugs or
Mm.
alcohol, right? So how do you see that showing up in the people that you work with?
Oh yeah, they'll come to me and they'll say, in my lifestyle, I'm binge eating, or I feel like I always need a drink after I get done with work, or I've lived many years where I just love to buy and shop and now I'm in so much debt that it's even scary for me to even be able to say yes to working with you. I just don't know how I'm going to afford it when I've put so much of my time and energy into spending. And so people really struggle with these big kind of roadblocks that seemingly have shown up as they are in these spaces of feeling like they don't know why they're here and what's the purpose of their life. And they're pushing down all the anxiety and overwhelm that tends to show up or come from these kinds of feelings with food or
Yeah.
alcohol. Or irrational spending, or Debbie, even relationships, one right after another, that
Mhm.
seemingly don't work out.
Yeah, for sure. How do you get them to know that's what they're doing? Are they willing to see that? I imagine by the time they're working with you, they're willing to take a look. But how do you get them to really see what they're doing?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful technique. It's something that is very innovative and transformative. But essentially, I have these special abilities to be able to really hear deeply into what's going on with a person, not just on a mental and emotional level, but also on a spiritual level, on a soul level. So when people come to work with me, I actually am really tuning into their soul's essence and I'm seeing their adventure in in life as a soul's journey. So there's something that they've come to learn and understand about themselves as they have been now in a challenge or inside of what could be something that feels painful or hurtful for them. So I always know, I say this is happening for a good reason for them. And it's just my job to ask them the right questions that can gently guide them back into places within their life where they may have started to formulate opinions about themselves or the world that actually started to create limits or barriers or more pain for them that they just didn't know how to deal with. And now they've been faced with a two by four, something that keeps hitting them in the face, people who keep leaving, or a body that keeps growing, or simply a debt that just never seems to end. And usually people are coming to me when they've reached what they consider rock bottom.
And then, which is a wonderful space because there's nowhere to go but up. So thoughts, let's talk about how thoughts create reality, because when someone has a negative experience, it is so easy to go over it and over it and over it and over it. And then we become sort of hardwired to just keep going over it and over it. And we don't realize that by the time something manifests physically,
Yep.
there's so much going on mentally and emotionally. So
Yep.
walk us through that whole process so we really see what we're doing and then we can find a way out of it.
Sure. And I think this could be a great spot to just introduce my story because it's a great example of how I created an opinion of myself or a thought and it changed my life. So, when I was about 13 years old, I remember walking down my middle school hallway, and I was at the height I am now. I'm 5 feet 6 inches, and I weighed, though, a lot more than I do today. I was about 175 pounds. And I was bigger than the other girls. I was bigger than the other kids in my grade. And I remember getting to my locker one morning as a 13-year-old, and I remember turning the combination. I was left and right, 4, 8. You can remember those numbers. And I remember seeing something slip out of the top of my locker and land on the ground. It was a loose leaf piece of paper. And I thought, what is that? And I went to bend down and pick it up. And as I opened it up, Debbie, I saw this hand drawn image of a school bus. And my whole body froze because I began to see in clearer image the words, Elizabeth, you're as big as a bus, written right on that sheet of paper. And it was almost simultaneously, I heard the sound of teenage boys snickering behind me. And my spine began to burn, and I felt in my chest a weight just starting to crush down at my heart. And it was just right in that moment, I remember saying to myself, why am I so ugly? And I had been teased by these boys for almost a year, but nothing to this degree. They had just whispered things in my ears and said, you're fat. But this really hurt me. And I remember just feeling so embarrassed. But the thought was so strong. Why am I so ugly?
And for those of you who are listening, Elizabeth is beautiful. I mean, it's as if it's not hard enough to be 13, something like that, and it can stay with you for life. So what happened after that? I mean, what'd you do with that feeling and that emotion?
Yeah, well, as we were talking about thoughts or things, they create our reality. You can hear I made an opinion of myself based off of those boys teasing me. And it was so concrete for me. It was like, I am ugly. And I remember going home that day and laying in my bed. And I just remember thinking, what am I going to do about myself? I need to be fixed. I'm broken. Nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to like me. Can you hear all the other thoughts that start to boil up as I feel ashamed, embarrassed, as I feel so disgusting? And I came to a place that day where I said, I'm going to change myself. I'm going to prove to other people that I can be beautiful. And I remember looking at the magazine and I said, this is the way that the world sees beauty. I have to be skinny. I have to look like what these models in the magazine appear like. And I made another choice. I'm going to prove to other people I can be beautiful. Except, Debbie, in making that choice, I didn't realize that I would have to adopt the standard of beauty of our culture. And I'd have to actually take on everybody else's thoughts and opinions of what being beautiful was, and essentially really disconnect from who I was inside. And I spent 17 years trying to fix myself with every single diet, with every single weight loss program, and taking personally so much the opinions of other people as they saw my body. I got to be 117 pounds. I was rail thin, and people said, Elizabeth, you're beautiful. But the thing is, my mind, it was like, why are they lying?
Mm.
I still had ugly thoughts. I still saw myself as not beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So now here you are looking for every external sort of way to fix you. We think we're broken. Of course, we're never broken, bent, And and then at what point did you realize I've tried all these things. I've tried all of these things to allow me to feel better and to help me feel better. And then, we always come back to that at some point. It's an inside job.
Oh, absolutely. Because you know what I started to realize, Debbie, as I was venturing through this 17-year journey of trying to fix myself and giving everyone the power, right, to decide what that meant for me, what size I should be, how I should dress, what I should do for a profession, who I should date. Seemingly in every experience that I got into, my jobs, my relationships, they all turned out to be so ugly, you know? They all turned out to be such painful, hard, and trying experiences. It was as though I was attracting exactly what I felt inside, especially in my relationships. I dated two people in my 20s back to back, and both of them said to me, I just don't see a future with you.
Mm.
And it was the hardest thing because we struggled so much in these partnerships with insecurity and frustrations and blaming and trying to make the other one better. And if you just did this, and it was so messy.
Yeah. And it was like that's what was going on inside your mind and inside your heart. And there was the mirror showing
There
you.
was the mirror.
Right. So at what point did you realize, well, these people are showing me what truly is my own creation here?
Well, it took a little while, like I mentioned before, I had to get some 2x4s, and really essentially what that means is things had to go upside down in my life. So I was living in New York City. I was practicing actually as a registered dietitian. As you have heard, I was very focused on my body and food, and it seemed this is an easy profession. Yet I felt like a fraud. I was sitting across from the table telling people how to live lifestyles and change their bodies and fix themselves. And I was on the weekends partying, and on the weekdays doubling up on exercise routines to try to compensate for everything I was doing on Friday and Saturday night. I was miserable. And I was in a relationship with someone who kept on and off and back and on, and we're together and we're not. And I felt so insecure and unsafe. Is he cheating? Is he really wanting to be with me? Maybe if I just were more beautiful, we could just, make it work. Or how do I get him to stay? And one day he said, I just can't be with you. And here I was, almost 30. I had imagined I was supposed to have a house and kids, a car, a husband, and I was being broken up with for the second time in 8 years. No ring on my finger. Hated what I was doing. Would look in the mirror and think how disgusting I am. I was so unhappy. And I remember sitting on my couch, tears just streaming down my face. No one's ever going to love me. What is the point of being here? And it was in this moment I actually thought, why not just take my own life? What does it matter? And I thought about it a lot. I thought about a plan, how to do it, how it was going to get done. And the wildest thing happened, Debbie. So I'm sitting here in my apartment in New York, closed off from the world, not wanting to see anyone, so sad inside. A friend comes to me. She says, Elizabeth, something is really going on. And I don't know why, but I feel like I need you to meet someone. And I said, who? Who do you want me to meet? And she said, well, he calls himself a healer. And I've been working with him and I really, it's transforming my life. And I said, okay, well, where are they? And she said, well, we have to get in the car. And I was like, okay. And she's like, we got to drive to the beach. And I said, well, okay, where are we going? And she's like, we're going to go to Virginia Beach. And I
These
said,
are these little angels that show up just when we need them. Isn't that amazing?
it's
Continue with
amazing.
the story. Yeah.
Well, like I was about to say, it was like this voice inside my head was like so quiet, but it said, go. And I listened. So that weekend, I packed my things up. I was so sad and depressed. She tried to get the music going and drive, and I just wanted to stare out the window. But I remember getting there, and I remember parking into this just normal looking house in a normal looking neighborhood. And this normal looking guy who was Malaysian came outside and he said, I've been waiting for you. Me? I was like, me? You've been waiting for me? And he said, yes. And I said, okay. And he said, you've been wanting to be powerful for a long time. And just that statement, it hit me in my soul. I just started crying. I had no idea why. And here I am in front of a complete stranger, but it was true. How did he know this about me? And he said, come on inside. And that began my first session with my mentor, my teacher. And there he helped me understand how those teenage boys back when I was 13 years old played an important part in my soul's journey and learning what true beauty really is. And that I could give myself permission to let go of the pain and the hurt and choose to see myself as beautiful again.
And it really is a choice, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. These thoughts are so powerful. And I think so often we confuse facts with beliefs. Beliefs can be dismantled. A fact
Yes.
cannot. Gravity throws something up, it's coming down. But
Yep.
a belief is just, and I explain it as the repetition of an idea from someone you trust. Someone said something to you enough times, and then we took it on and then said it to ourselves that much more, and it becomes a belief. But that doesn't mean we
It's
have to
true,
keep it. It
right?
doesn't mean it serves. So what were some things that he did with you to have you uh, be open to questioning your own beliefs and then getting rid of them and letting them go?
Yeah, he just shined a super bright light on the opinions that I had created about myself in relationship to other people's reaction or what they had said to me. And he made it seem so simple. It was like, okay, my 8-year-old or 9-year-old or 10-year-old self, of course they would make that conclusion. Of course they would say, oh, I must be ugly or there's something wrong with me, because what other reference or point of context do I have? And my parents, so beautiful, I chose them so well. They didn't know how to always manage my emotion. They just said, get over it or you'll be fine. And so here I was creating my own story as a 10-year-old that became my adult life. And it was just that easy.
Right. And then how did you, when you started looking at things differently, walk us through the difference in how you started to feel and what
Oh,
showed up because of it.
yeah. Well, I left that ex, who had broken up with me so many times. I finally found peace. I finally could let him go. And that was such a huge weight off of my shoulders because I had carried the sadness and the pain from that relationship. And I started to see my life more clearly. It's like, I don't just want to tell people how to eat. There's something deeper going on here. There's something more underneath the surface that drives them to do what they're doing. I want to help people on a more meaningful level. And I began to actually think about creating my own practice. And here, within 6 months of working with my mentor, I quit my 9 to 5. I quit the ex. And I began my journey of walking in my true life's calling. I began elizabethtripp.com, live your life by your design. And I started to actually build a beautiful client base of people who wanted to transform and find out who they were through their relationship with themselves.
So, I'm a big believer in uh, the hero's journey and in that dark night of the soul. And I think it serves as such a wonderful wake up call to realize
Mm.
what we're doing, who we're being, how we're living. And it takes us out of the numbness and
Yep,
the sleepwalking through life. What I find is so many people don't like getting uncomfortable, and they
exactly.
will do anything to prevent being uncomfortable. But it's only in that discomfort
Yep,
do we get agitated enough to start taking a look
yep,
at what may be waiting for us. And it's the I look at it, and if you look back, and I invite everybody, every viewer, every listener, when you look back at your experiences in life that were so traumatic back then, that's the catalyst for
yep.
transformation, right? I mean,
Hmm.
like with the experience of that note that fell
Yep.
out, that was, and on a soul level, was that something that kind of was so perfect,
Yes.
so
Yes.
perfect, right? Like, here I look at my betrayals as so perfect, and it seems so flippin' crazy because
Yes.
it's so traumatic. But when you're out the other side and you look back, you're like, well, of course I needed
Of-
to go through all of those things.
Yep.
How on earth could I have ever gotten to where I am now? So give us some examples maybe of things like that. Like, in my case, let's say the betrayal; in your case, the note. Things like that serve as that catalyst for transformation. Are there things that come to mind with some of your clients?
Yeah, you like you're speaking of, usually there's at least one or two incidents that have happened for someone that they are still carrying within their body. So I want the audience to really understand that the body holds a record of every single thing you've ever been through. It holds memory. So if you look back, if you scan and you think about the biggest, most hurtful event, and you still have pain, or you still see your body will get anxious, or you see yourself actually starting to, your breath laboring, or you wanting to run away from it, that's the signal you need to go there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I remember reading, I think it was called The Heart's Code, and it was with heart transplant recipients. And
Hmm.
it was incredible because they started taking on characteristics from the donor. And that
Yep.
seems so crazy. It's like someone all of a sudden is like, having, beer and chips. And they're like, I never even liked that before. What the heck is going on? And we don't realize how these emotions
Yep.
and these thoughts and feelings are in every cell, in every
Yes.
tissue.
Yes. So another thing your audience can do is they can take a look at their body right now and scan themselves and say, am I feeling any aches or pains? Or where is it seemingly that I'm out of balance? Many people will come to me and say, I have a belly and I don't I don't know how to get rid of it. I've tried everything. And I say, the belly is beautiful because it's giving you a love note from your soul. There's something you need to actually change in your thinking that's changing the way you're feeling, that's creating this belly. So we need to change it.
Right.
And then the belly will go away. So the body will tell you, the body knows the answer. It will tell you where you need to go and what it is that you need to actually look deeper at, just through any aches, pains, or dis-ease you're currently going through right now.
Isn't that so amazing? Like, I remember having surgery in both feet for severe arthritis. They look fine
Mhm.
on the outside. I had worn away all my cartilage. And then when you think of it, and I could not walk. So here, isn't it? The universe is trying to get me to slow down. Number one, right?
Yes.
And fear of moving forward, right?
Yes.
Isn't and listen, after betrayals, isn't that it makes total sense? And then I've had
Yes.
such hard, I mean, 6 out of 7 of my cervical discs are pressing on nerves, so I'm in tremendous pain. And
Mm.
doesn't And then I heard that the neck represents flexibility
Mm-hmm.
and being flexible and being in the flow of life. And here I am, the most impatient
Love it.
type A, triple A person. So it's so perfect. It's so perfect what
Yes.
the body is trying to say if we'd only listen. That's
Beautiful.
just incredible, right? Elizabeth, what do you want to make sure everyone knows as we wrap up?
Oh, you're worth it. Just that statement. You're worth it. If you could just look in the mirror and say, I am worth it. I am worthy of a beautiful life. And just watch whatever comes up for you, whether your mind says, no, that's a lie, or you start to cry. That's a doorway into where you need to go to begin to believe you are worth it.
Beautiful. And you know what? Think about it. If we can ask, we can tell ourselves we're worth it, we will save ourselves how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in
Yes.
therapy or whatever else, and how much time. I mean, that would just be wonderful. Where do we go to learn more about you and the great work you do?
Well, I love a community. So I love to invite people who are enjoying the podcast to come over to Facebook. I have a beautiful Facebook group. It's called Empowered Souls. We love to just share, host our own watch parties, get messages and chains going, what's happening in the community. I love to serve. So that's a wonderful interactive space, as well as Instagram. You can find me at Elizabeth M. Tripp. And of course, if you want to get to know me a little bit better, elizabethtripp.com.
Wonderful. Elizabeth, I want to thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I know that our audience picked up some amazing nuggets. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be of service to you all, and thank you.
Isn't it amazing what happens when we become proactive in turning our lives around? That's when the magic happens. I'm not saying those changes are easy, but it's not fair to you to believe you're less than, unworthy, unlovable, not good enough, just not enough. Someone said these things to you, and it's up to us to choose to rewire our minds so they no longer have any hold on us. Stay in touch with Elizabeth by going to elizabethtripp.com, and we'll have all of her information in the show notes at thepbtinstitute.com/podcast. Here's my biggest takeaway. You are worth it. That's what Elizabeth finally realized, and it was what helped turn her life around. What do you need to tell yourself? Start doing or start thinking so that you can let go of outdated limiting beliefs and the behaviors that go along with them. It's entirely up to you. Our minds believe whatever we say, so start programming yourself with some powerful, loving, and healing thoughts. You got this. Can we help? Check out the PBT Institute membership community. Imagine everything you'd ever need to become your physical, mental, emotional best. Community, support, certified coaches and practitioners you can schedule time with, daily classes on all kinds of interesting topics, curated experts teaching advanced strategies in the areas of health, mindset, spirituality, personal development. Imagine the most friendly, welcoming, and supportive place to become your best, all online. Nothing like this exists, and I am so excited to welcome you. Just go to thepbtinstitute.com/join to learn more. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to be with you next time, and here's to your breakthrough.